talk about Maria, who is a sociology major. So I'll be going through each group, and you'll be letting me know what the answer is. So she's a sociology major. She took 2 years of high school French, and she wants to fulfill the requirement with French courses. So what would you recommend that Maria do? Did your group have, who had Maria? Oh, thank you.
That she would start with French 100B because she has the 2 years experience, and then either take French 201 or 210.
That's correct. Can you guess why we would not recommend French 200? Can anyone guess why we wouldn't recommend French 200? No, the reason, I'll just answer. The reason we wouldn't recommend French 200 is it's actually a study abroad in Paris. So that might not be conducive.
Yeah,
Might not work out. So then she would, for her third semester level, you're right, after taking 100B, we'd recommend that she either take 201 or 210. All right, so let's look at Fred, who is an anthropology major. Fred took 3 years of high school German. He took the equivalent of Spanish 101 at community college. He is undecided if he should take German or Spanish courses to fulfill the requirement. So the group that has Fred.
It said that he should take German 205A. Well, he could do Spanish, but if he was to go the Spanish route, he would have to take 2 more courses, 102 and 201.
Yeah.
And if he goes German route, then he just has to do 205A.
Perfect. And that's an excellent example when you have a student that is in that particular situation where they have multiple options. We want to present them with all the options, and then at that point it's up to them. That's perfect. That's a great example of how to word it too. Any questions on Fred or Maria? Okay. We're going to go on to Jessica, who's a history major. She graduated from high school in China, where instruction was taught in Chinese. She wants to fulfill the requirement with Japanese courses. What would we recommend Jessica do?
We had Jessica, and we told her that her requirement was already filled because of where she graduated from high school, but if she wants to like Japanese, she's welcome to, and she can take those consecutive courses. Yeah, the requirement is fulfilled.
Correct. And just as a follow-up, if she says, yeah, I understand, but I really want that background in that Japanese, if she doesn't have proficiency in the language, then what would she enroll in?
Japanese 111.
111, that's correct. If she had some background in the language, what would you recommend she do?
well, wouldn't depend on how, would she have to do 111? Because in Japanese you can't, I guess.
So Japanese is the one that if you have any background, you actually have to take a proficiency exam with the department so that they place the student in the correct course. And I heard a couple of chuckles about the graduated from high school in China where the instruction was taught in Chinese. The reason I specifically said that is just because a student graduates from a school in which the language is not English, that doesn't mean the high school is necessarily instructed in that language. Okay? So a good example would be maybe there's a military base and they have an American high school on base. So actually the language of instruction is in fact English, even though they happen to be graduating high school in China. So when they say, I graduated high school in another country, in let's say Japan, then you want to say, was high school, was the mode of language, was the mode of instruction taught, what was the language? Was it Japanese? Yes, then you're a native speaker. Was it English? Then you're not a native speaker. Okay? Does that make sense? That's going to be pretty rare, but if you do happen to run across that, I would recommend just grabbing one of the advisors at Orientation Lab so that we can kind of evaluate it a little further. Okay. Let's move on to Brian, who is a political science major. So Brian took AP French language exam and received a 3. Brian wants to fulfill the requirement of Spanish courses. So what would Brian do?
He doesn't need to, but he can take Spanish.
Right.
He already fulfilled the requirement.
That's correct. So he received credit in French 201 and 210, so he satisfied the language requirement. But if he wanted to take Spanish, what would he need to do?
He could take 101, 102, then 201.
That's correct. And again, it's all about letting the student know what their options are. Likely the student will decide, you know what, I'm already done. Why would I take 3 more classes I don't need? But we want to make sure that they know what all of their options are. Okay, Rick is a music performance vocalist major. Rick took 4 years of high school Spanish. He's undecided what language courses to take to fulfill the requirement. So the group that has Rick, what would Rick do?
So actually for the performance vocalist, you need French, German, and Italian.
Mhm.
So you have to take French 100A, German 100A, and Italian 100A.
Perfect, so he would need all 3 courses. If Rick was in a different major that was leading to Bachelor of Arts liberal degree, the language requirements would be fulfilled with the 4 years of high school Spanish. But in his particular case, he would have to still take those courses. And our last student, Lisa, psychology major, she took a college-level Japanese course at the community college, and she wants to fulfill language requirement with further Japanese courses. What would Lisa do? Yeah, Lisa would need to go to the Japanese department, take the proficiency test to determine which level she places into. That's correct. Okay, so we actually have a few minutes. We're going to do pop quiz. Sometimes we'll have time for this, sometimes we won't. Okay. So, the question is, I just found out that I have been placed on academic probation. I'm very sad. I'm not sure what I should do next. I think that I should go to the Academic Advising Center for help. Is this true or false? Whoa. What happened there? The answer is true. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, the Academic Advising Center can definitely help a student that finds themselves on academic probation. We definitely want to sit down with that student and go over everything with them and go through that. Okay. So far, we have, so here are the 9 graduation requirements again, and as of right now, we've reviewed everything except for major and minor requirements and general education. So on, what's the next time we meet? February 22nd, we'll be going over general education. So if you want to get a head start on it, you can read through pages 92 through 97. I'm going to warn you about the next quiz. They start to increasingly become difficult. So make sure that you're going over, I know that's mean of me, isn't it? Make sure you're reviewing your notes and you're reviewing your catalog, you're going to your TIs with any questions, and that you come prepared for that quiz and continue to get those outstanding scores. And I'll turn it over to NSPB to see if they have any more announcements.
Yeah, just meet with your TI group right now. Do you guys have anything? Oh, okay, yeah. Just meet with your TI group real quick.